Alright, so we have the femur here, and the first thing we're going to do is figure out left or right. And there's a couple of easy features that you can use to do this. The first one is right here. It's called the Fovea Capitis, or you can really use the whole thing, which is the head of the femur. Right? And so this is going to face the acetabulum on the hip, and so that means this thing has to face medially. Right? It has to articulate with that acetabulum, so that means this thing has to face medial. So we set that up medial. The other structure that I like to use is this thing on the back called the Linea Aspera. It's this big rough line. It's literally what it means. Linea line, aspera means rough. And so it's this rough line on the back of the femur. And that's going to face posterior. So I set this up and I have a left femur. We're going to break this down into structures. Pretty straightforward. It has a lot of homologous structures to the humerus because we used to be quadrupeds back in the day, and so often what you'll see, and even in birds, we all have like these same basic structures, even though they're modified depending on the course that we followed evolutionarily. Alright, so we're going to look at the head here. We've already talked about. Right, so the head, the Fovea Capitis is this, literally means, fovea means hole, capitis means head, so it's a hole in the head of the femur, and there's a little ligament that attaches called the round ligament that attaches to the acetabulum. It's kind of one of the ways that this keeps it locked in. All right, we have right here the neck of the femur, the greater trochanter and the lesser trochanter, so these little bumps that stick out. And trochanter, the root is, depending on what you think, it's either running or wheel, right? And so your legs are basically the wheel with how we move. And so if you think about it, all right, it kind of makes sense that they would name it after this. So the greater trochanter, lesser, right? We ever see greater and lesser. Greater just means bigger, lesser means smaller, and they're connected on the posterior side with an intertrochantic crest, right? So this is a left one. You can't really see it. So if I flip all the way around, that's where you see the greater trochanter, lesser trochanter, intertrochantic crest. All right, we see the Linea Aspera that runs along the posterior portion. We get ourselves down to the distal. All right, the distal is pretty straightforward. This is a kneecap, not actually part of your femur. Sits on top of it. All right, so you have a medial and lateral condyle, and then medial and lateral epicondyle. Remember that epi means on, condyle is like a knuckle, usually an area of articulation. So you have medial, lateral condyle, medial and lateral epicondyle, and then between the two you have a intercondylar fossa. And that's it. So pretty straightforward. We'll go over it real quick one more time. Head of the femur, Fovea Capitis. Anatomical neck, greater trochanter, lesser trochanter, intertrochanteric crest, Linea Aspera on the posterior side. And we have a medial and lateral condyle, medial and lateral epicondyle. Last one, intercondylar fossa.